doing a live stream off the top of my head, and I am doing it basically across YouTube and Facebook, a few other platforms. But I just wanted to share something with you that's come to my attention because I've got a screen share here, and I just want to screen share it with you and just talk about the misinformation that we're getting whenever we're doing some research. So, uh, my good friend Richard Smith and I, we do these live stream question and answers, but we're also doing some other bits and bobs where we're being fact checked on, because we want to be fact checked. We just want people to check on what we're saying because we like that. Now, the Shikimate pathway is something that both Richard and I speak about in connection with glyphosate. You see, now if you look at Wikipedia, for instance, it talks about this pathway, a seven-step metabolic pathway used by bacteria, archaea, fungi, algae, and some protozoans, and plants, the biosynthesis of folates, that's basically what it's saying, and aromatic amino acids. But this is the bit I want you to look at. This pathway is not found in mammals, that's what it says there. But we did have a little clue as to, is it found in mammals? So when you go to ChatGPT, for instance, you can ask, does this pathway exist in human beings? And you're told, no, it does not exist in humans. And it gives you the same thing. This is the important thing. The same thing that you saw there on Wikipedia. Okay. Now, what happens if you interrogate ChatGPT? As you know, I've done this on other things. For instance, a topic that's very close to my heart, which is the EGFR. Is that the best measure of kidney function? And they say it is until you query it and say, well, actually it isn't. There are some other things, but anyway. So I've interrogated this. This does not seem correct as it appears in the gut bacteria. And there you are, straight away. You are correct, and I apologise for my previous response. While the Shikimate pathway is not present in human cells, it is indeed found in many gut bacteria that resides in the human digestive tract. Now, this might seem like a little bit of a, well, a piddly issue, really, but it isn't. It's very important because everyone's getting this information, and that's wrong. You know, if they're looking on Wikipedia and they're looking on Google, and we say something and they look it up, they will think, well, wow, they don't know what they're talking about. But actually, we do, and you have to know what questions to ask. And it's really quite frustrating when we see this happening time and time again. So I just wanted to point that out to you, that if we're saying anything and you look it up on Google and you find that it doesn't tally with what your understanding is, then definitely message us, because we can then do some screenshots of further research to show you that you're being lied to, because you simply are, on many things. So another good example would be if you were typing in what are the top 10 foods for iron, for instance. And I did this a little while ago and found that Google recommended everything that had non-heme iron, so basically plants, were the top 10. But that's not the best source of iron, because the source of iron that the body wants is heme iron. And it goes to great lengths to convert non-heme iron to heme iron, which involves a lot of vitamin C. So you have what's called the vitamin C or ferroreductase enzyme, and that will take Fe3 plus, which is the plant version of iron, which is the ferric version, and it has to convert it to ferrous, which is the Fe2 plus. Well, that's what you get from animals. So really, when you ask what are the top 10 sources of iron for the body, it should include all animals, because that's the source of iron. That's the type of iron, the ferrous Fe2 plus, that we want in the body. So anyway, that's my very short little live stream about that. And that's a good way to start. I'm quite surprised that I've got some viewers, because this is completely impromptu on a Saturday afternoon. But I thought I would do it anyway. And if you got any questions, I could have actually looked at putting a live chat out. But let me just have a look. Is there a live chat available? And if it is, I will just see, because be interested to see if you've got any questions. There is a chat. Studio chat, live stream chat. Here we go. Thank you very much. Good morning, Michelle from Pennsylvania. Wow. And I don't know how to pronounce that name. Cearlin. Cereline? Great, I caught alive. And Tom, wow, Tom, good evening. Well, it's actually 16:38 here in state-controlled Britain, so that's 4:39 really in the afternoon. It's a beautiful sunny day, which is unusual when we're at the end of September, but it's fantastic that you're all watching. So I'm a little bit surprised and also honoured that so many people have decided to watch. That's really nice. If you've got a question, you can pop it in the chat if you want. Um, oh, hello, phlebotomist question. Would you use a vein to donate plasma if the last time you did it collapsed? Well, no, I wouldn't. I would probably do the other arm. That's a great question, by the way. Um, if you're doing therapeutic, um, if you're doing therapeutic phlebotomy to lower your iron levels, yeah, there's plenty of ways to do it actually. So yes, that was interesting. Audio is quite low. Can you bump it up a bit? Right. Okay, I can have a look at that. That's very interesting. Let's just make sure that my microphone is working. Is it the right mic? I think I muted the mic there. Sorry about that while I moved it around. I think it might be because I was looking at the screen. Is that any better, Tom? I hope it is, because I do want to get the settings correct for the lives. Is that any better? So settings here, output volume. Hang on a minute. I can move that up. Yes, I can move that up. Let's move that up. Is that better? Wow, that looks like that's better. This setting adjusts the output. And we've got the echo cancellation on. Oh, all this techie stuff's boring. Surely this is boring for you. It was perfect. Oh, hello. Right, okay. Good. Hi, Stephen. Irish fan here. Irish name for Carrie. Okay. And are you in Ireland right now? That would be something. So let's have a look at this. Now I'm trying a different bit of software, and basically it's because it's allegedly going to be better for live streams and screen sharing and all that sort of stuff. And it also goes to Facebook and it goes to Twitter. It's great if you can put some questions in. So there's also things like, well, there's things like this. I can do this apparently. I don't know if that worked. So if I do a hilarious joke, I can do all that sort of stuff. So anyway, right, audio is perfect. Good morning, Stephen. Maybe not morning for you. That's right. I'm loving the names, by the way, because uh, if you don't know, I am actually deaf, and I wear hearing aids. I lip read, and I do rely on captions when I'm doing interviews. So any new words, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce. So I went deaf about age 23. Well, that's when it was diagnosed. Maybe it was happening before then. So when there's new words, I'm not quite sure of the pronunciation. So Vaim, I think that's, or Vaum, your name. I wouldn't know exactly how to pronounce it, but that would be probably for most people that are in the UK and someone from another country with a different name. But anyway, so with the science stuff, so when I did my honours degree in physiology and health sciences, the Shikimate pathway, I wasn't sure I was saying it right. But anyway, okay. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about, how the mainstream media can tell you something categoric that isn't true. And then, basically uh, you've got problems with that. You need to know how to interrogate the system. So let's put a question in. Let's have a look. I'm going to do this live. Let's see. Let's have a look. So we were here. This is very boring watching someone type live. So we had a question, for instance, about phlebotomy. And I put, if you have a collapsed vein, can you do phlebotomy? If you have a collapsed vein, phlebotomy, drawing blood, can be more challenging, but not necessarily impossible. Here are some general considerations and approaches used in such situations. So, I mean, I knew that because that's my job. Or it was my job for 10 years doing private bloods. And that's pretty inoffensive. But if we do the question I just said, what are the top 10 sources of iron from food? Let's see if they've updated it, because I made it quite public that they were telling me a load of rubbish. And they have actually changed it. So there you go. So Chat GPT, iron is an essential mineral, and getting adequate amounts from your diet is crucial, especially from preventing anemia. Here are the top 10 sources of iron from food, including both heme and non-heme iron sources. Right, so obviously they do look at these things, and I complained and complained and complained. So red meat is top, poultry is second, fish and seafood is third, liver and organ meats are fourth. And wow, so can public pressure make a big difference? Now that's on Chat GPT, but I wonder if I was to go directly on Google and ask this question. Okay, let's go to Google, and we would just ask that question: what are the top 10 sources of what are the top 10 food sources for iron? Let's see if Google's changed. And it's literally the same text. Meat and poultry, beef, seafood, organ meats, it's the same. So they have taken it on board. I am surprised, but that's the whole point of doing things live. You're taking Richard's electrolytes, loads of salt, still have leg cramps, really bad at times last weekend, and had a back muscle spasm. Awful. I'm kind of on 9 months, eating high fat, some days 200 grams. So 9.5 months eating high fat. Well, that's an interesting thing. Yes. We are taking lots of salt and Richard's electrolytes. So maybe the balance is out. I always think if you're having problems, even though you are adding electrolytes, I would sort of take a step back and go back to some basics. So I'd either stop the electrolytes or stop the salt, and just try one or the other, because it might be too much. But I think it might be the balance. You could be drinking too much. I think this is one of the things where it's nice to have Richard to bounce off as well. Especially as his electrolytes are being mentioned, because he knows the ratios of his own electrolytes off the top of his head. So how long have you been having those leg cramps? And did you used to get them before carnivore? So 9.5 months carnivore, eating high fat. Sometimes you can get the leg cramps because of the high fat, because you're not absorbing the high fat, and that can have a little bit of an impact on your fluid balance as well. Maybe your bile isn't sufficient. So one of the things that you can do when you're having leg cramps is actually dial back the fat, or have smaller meals with a little bit more frequency, which does seem to fix it. Methylfolate is another one that can be implemented as a supplement there, because it can be something to do with your methylation, and I've seen leg cramps go with that. Overhydrating or underhydrating. So if your urine is clear, you're overhydrating. And if it's dark, then you're underhydrating. But hydrating isn't about drinking tons and tons of water. It's more about drinking the appropriate amount of water. When it comes to electrolytes, I don't actually use electrolytes at the moment. I'm just using a small glass throughout the day with a teaspoon of salt and a little bit of lime. That's my fluid for the whole day, by the way, and that's as far as I've got in the whole day. Like I say, it's nearly 5 o'clock. That's how much I've had. Urine strips, quite good if you're worried about your hydration status. There is not an affiliate link in the description, so I don't like people telling me that I'm doing this just to sell stuff and make some money. These are really cheap. One step 10 urine test strips. You get 100 strips. Like I say, I don't earn anything off this, and it will do things like your nitrates, your protein pH. Specific gravity is the one I'm interested in for this question. Ketones, bilirubin, glucose. Specific gravity, which is just a posh way of saying how much waste is in your urine, what are the parts per million, solutes, whatever you want to say. And it's a really good indicator. If you're overhydrated, your specific gravity will be not where you should be. It should be about 0.3. And it is easier to just look at your urine. Make sure your urine is straw coloured. That's it. And then you're about right with hydration. So there's lots of things you can try for leg cramps, really. Oh my gosh, Innocent Michelle. Oh my God. Oh my gosh, sorry. Here in the States, I discount everything from the mainstream media. Yes, I do. I absolutely, definitely dismiss everything from mainstream media. But sadly, um, it is. I'm trying to find another thing to look up for you. Um, it's. I was trying to find another example of mainstream media being stupid, but I can't find one at the moment. So yes, people all the time they ask, even people I'm coaching, they still get suckered into, well, it says this on, on this channel, or I've looked on Google and this is happening. So I think one of the things I often try to say is, listen to the common sense. So I just had an interview with somebody and we were talking about grounding, and they was like, oh, many people think grounding is a bit woo woo. That's where you're barefoot on the grass. And I said, well, actually, if you flip it around and think what the opposite of grounding is, if you were selling that as an idea, people would think that's really weird. So if you said, right, okay, as soon as your child is born, wrap their feet up in rubber or plastic, and make sure whatever they do, their bare feet does not touch the grass. Wow, that sounds a bit out there to me compared to let them run on the grass or let them run on the sand. It's crazy. So yeah, Chrissy, creatinine for women. Thoughts? Yes, it can be handy. I mean, obviously, getting enough protein is key, and getting it from real foods is also possibly the best way of doing it, because that's how you would get creatine before supplementation was available. So it makes sense. So let's say you want to be 150 pounds in your ideal weight, which is whatever that would be, lean muscle, however it suits your stature. But I'm only saying 150 pounds, just make it easy for the sums. You would need 150 grams of protein and 150 grams of fat per day. As a rule of thumb, that would be your start. So if you want to be 100 pounds, then you'd need 100 grams of fat and 100 grams of protein. And that would be where you would start off. And then after that, it would be trial and error. So after about 6-7 weeks of looking at that consumption, if your body composition was going where you wanted it to go, then that seems about right. If you were putting on a bit of body fat, then maybe you could down the fat. If you weren't gaining enough muscle, say for instance you're in the gym, then you could increase your protein. Now creatine is very good as a supplement for people that can't eat enough, especially when they first come to this way of eating, because maybe they've come from calorie restriction, which I hate as an expression because that's nutrient restriction. That's micronutrient restriction. So you're restricting electrolytes, you're restricting everything. Under eating is what it actually is. So if you come from that background, or low fat, so that's depriving yourself of essential fats for many years or whatever, then this is where you can start to reverse those problems that come from all this under eating. Well, anyway, if you can't eat enough of the real food, or you just don't have that appetite yet, then a creatine supplement can really help. Can really help. And some people think it helps with like cognitive benefits as well as muscle mass. But it's a relatively safe supplement. Um, Going back to the cramps only on carnivore. I'm doing OMAD. I'll cut down on the electrolytes. Strict carnivore, still awaiting the Zen feeling 9.5 months later. I urine. I think we're going to get. I think you might have pressed return before you ended up right in the end of that. But yes, if you've not got the Zen after 9.5 months, then maybe you are overhydrating or under eating. I think that's one of the things. If you spotted me, maybe you come to our lives on a Sunday night. Why not come back on Sunday when Richard is with us? So Sunday, that's tomorrow night, 7 o'clock p.m., so 1900 hours, Captain, is when we're doing our live question and answer on my YouTube channel, on his. Come back with that question, and maybe we could look at that a little bit more. Chrissy is saying protein sparing modified fasting. Thought it was finally protein sparing modified fasting. Thought it's finally helping break a fat loss stall. Carnivore 2 years. Chrissy, that is brilliant. and I'm quite happy with that. I had Craig Emmerich on the channel, and we were talking about protein sparing modified fasting, or protein sparing mimicking fasting, however you want to look at it. I think that is a good biohack, a good way of looking at things. If you're having a weight loss stall, just change it up a bit. And I think that's really good. You can go to lower fat, higher protein, and for some people, that really does tick the right boxes. So I think that's great. Mr. I've been on an 80-20, 80%, 20% fat protein mix, percentages based on calories for a week, and got bad diarrhea once or twice a week. How can I become fat adapted? Okay, so that's just for people that want to know this. 80 to 20%. You can either do it by weight or you can do it by calories. I prefer to do it by weight. So that would be easier for me to work out. But if you're doing it 80-20, so you know a very high fat diet, that will give you diarrhea for some people because that's so much fat. And one of the reasons is because bile isn't just produced in relation to fat. It's also needed for amino acid absorption. So when you're eating that amount of fat, the protein will take a precedent, and it will be soaking up all the bile for that absorption process first, and therefore you'll have some spare fat left over. If you're having diarrhea um, once or twice a day, then I think I'm going to use the same hack as I mentioned earlier. I would just dial back. It does depend how long you've been doing it, but even if you've been doing high fat for a long time and you're not getting adapted, go to smaller meals with a bit more frequency. And personally, I would just dial back on the percentage for the moment. Maybe go 70-30. If you're going to stick with calories, do it on calories. So it's all consistent for you, and just see how that resolves it. I think just that little tweak might be enough. So this was an experiment, this live stream. Cheers from Switzerland. Thank you very much. You don't have to be a rocket scientist, but rocket scientist 66 is. Urine is not clear. That's good. Okay, let's go back to Sherilyn, or Carrie, as she said. Do you pronounce it Carrie? Anyway, urine is not clear. Only drink 1 litre Pellegrino daily. Well, that's sparkling, so that can be a problem as well. I had to stop the sparkling water. Because sparkling water has carbon in it, the body still has to process that carbon in the water. So once it hits your stomach, you get carbonic acid, and you can get bloating, and you can get belching, and all those sort of things. I didn't feel particularly good on it, so I stopped it, and I've now gone back to still water, or flat water, I think they call it in America. Some days high fat, some days high protein, but craved the fat. Only had 1 stone to lose and lost 22 pounds. Only had first to lose and lost 22 pounds. No change to anxiety, and still inflammation, no autoimmune. Right. Only drink 1 litre. Well, that isn't that much, but it could still be too much. Um, so I think try the still water. That would be one thing. A lot of anxiety. Um, I just would need a little bit more information. I mean, that might be something if you were coaching, because there's like a million questions I want to ask you, but it is something you do. Or you can come onto our live, or an even easier thing, you could join the Skool community. As this was just an impromptu live and I was just testing how it worked, I haven't got anything in the description, but I will after I've gone off the live. I'll put a link to the Skool community. Now, the Skool community is I'm going to do a screen share here, a community-based thing. So let's just do this. Let's do a screen share. It's amateur hour, isn't it? I'm really sorry, but let's do this. It is $4 a month, so it's less than $1 a week, and you can do all the live. So if we go to the calendar, for instance, you know, this is September. We did a live on a Monday. We did a live on a Tuesday for an hour. We did a live on Sunday, and we did an extra 30 minutes in the Skool community on a Sunday. So you have access to us for an hour, 2 hours, three and a half hours. And we have a guest the first Thursday of every month, like Dr. Abs. He was a guest here. And here we are. We've got the live tomorrow. I haven't programmed in the 7 o'clock live. Sorry if the sound's gone really bad. But yeah, there'll be a 7 o'clock and also an extra 30 minutes on the school community. And this has obviously a tab where you can ask lots and lots of questions. I won't scroll because obviously some of the members like their privacy, so we won't scroll through. But you can ask lots of questions. We also have a classroom where you can do lots and lots of courses. Free keto course because obviously carnivore is ketogenic. 19 tips to going carnivore, which could be a nice easy one to look at, Carrie, if you want to. Thyroid problems, dairy, fruit and veg, protein, problem solving. We also have my books. So what happens to get to level 8? We offer an incentive. Basically, you get extra points every time you comment or post or something like that. And then once you get to a certain amount of points, you get to level 8. So you get one of my books, How to Be Carnivore Free. And Fat Club is a thing that Richard and I did, which is an extra payment on top of the $4 because it's 57 days. Every single day we have guidance for you to follow. Um, Going back to the community, then you also have things like recipes, which we can answer questions. And then you've got questions, for instance, which can be addressed in the live Q&As, wins and progress. And that's things where people talk about all different things, technical support, live Q&A playback. So every time we do a live and you can't attend, we still let you watch it because we give you the link to go and watch it again at some point. So that's the school community, and I'll put the link in the description at the end of this. So let's just stop the sharing. Hope you like that. Right. Have to run. It's been a delight. See you tomorrow night. That's good. Thank you very much. Hi, Coach. What's your take on myocellular lipids causing insulin resistance? I think, considering I was just doing a 10-minute live, I think that's a brilliant question. And maybe we can cover that on Sunday. So I will copy that. I will actually... it says here, show on the screen. Can I show on the screen? Wow. There you go. Intramyocellular lipids causing insulin resistance. It's very unlikely. That's what I would say. Insulin resistance. You've got to get into what is insulin resistance. Well, actually, it's cellular resistance to the surplus of energy coming into it. But I will screenshot that because I think that is brilliant, and we'll dive into that tomorrow at a bigger level. So, do you mind if I just take a note of that, and we'll deal with that because Richard and I can really talk about that. Let's have a look. Cheers from CA. What about salt intake? A doctor recommended a teaspoon of good quality sea salt on the tongue to maintain mineral levels. Also, is it a hack to quell sugar cravings, which I found works to some degree? Yeah, that's true. And many people do put salt on their tongue, and it does seem to stop the cravings, which is pretty cool, isn't it? And I think I've done all the questions. So I was only going to be on until, well, actually I was going to do 10 minutes. I've gone over because I didn't expect 34 people to come on. So I'm a bit impressed. What about the shirt? A new shirt to go with the background and the new platform, which is Riverside, by the way, that's doing the live streaming. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to go off now. And thank you, Trader. Cool. Thanks for everything you do. That's fine. That's appreciated, and it's appreciated everybody watching. So I'm going to stop the live stream now, and hopefully, yes, see you all at 7 p.m. tomorrow evening.